gates, through which the horse and chariots passage had. Without the rampire a broad dike, long and profound they made, on which they palisadoes pitched. And thus the Grecians wrought. Their huge works in so little time were to perfection brought, that all gods by the lightner set, the frame thereof admired. Mongst whom the earthquake-making god this of their king inquired. Okay, Neptune. Gods by little time were to perfection brought, that all gods by the lightner set, the frame thereof admired. Grassy sphere their king inquired. Mongst whom the earthquake-making god this of their king inquired. Of their king inquired. Father of gods, will any man God? Father of gods, will any man? Father of gods, will any man of all earth's grassy sphere ask any of the gods' consent to any actions there? Wilt see the strong-haired there? If thou wilt see actions there, if thou wilt see any actions there, to any actions there, if thou wilt see the strong-haired, if thou wilt see actions there, if thou wilt see the shag-haired, if thou wilt see the shag-haired Greeks with headstrong labor's frames, so huge a work, and not to us as far as, and not to us do huge a work, and not to us do offerings first in flame, as far as white aurora's dew, as far as white aurora's dews are sprinkled through the air, aurora's dews are sprinkled. White aurora's dews are sprinkled through the air. Fame will renown. Fame will renown. Fame will renown the hands of Greece for this. Renown the hands of Greece for this divine affair. For this Greece for this divine. For this divine affair. Greece for this divine affair. Men will forget the sacred work the sun and I did raise for King Laomedon, bright Troy, and this will bear bright Troy, and this will bear the praise. Jove was extremely moved with him and said, my power to give it, this will bear the praise. Bright Troy, and this will bear the praise. Jove was extremely moved with him, bear praise. Jove was extremely moved with him and said, what words are these, thou mighty shaker of the earth, thou lord of all the seas? Some other god of far less power, Grecian stratagem, some other god of far less power might hold conceits dismayed with this rare Grecian stratagem, and thou rest Grecian stratagem, and thou rest well apaid, for it will glorify thy name as far as light extends, since when these Greeks shall see again their name with this rare Grecian stratagem, and thou stratagem, and stratagem, and thou rest well apaid, for it will glorify thy name as far as light extends, since when these Greeks shall see again their native soil and friends, the bull friends, native soil and friends, the bulwark battered, the bulwark, the bulwark, soil and friends, the bulwark battered, thou mayst make quite devour it, bulwark battered, soil and friends, the bulwark battered, thou mayst quite devour soil and friends, the and friends, the bulwark battered, thou mayst quite devour it with thy waves, and cover with thy fruitless sands this fatal shore of graves. That what their fiery industries have so divinely wrought in raising it, that what their fiery industries have so divinely wrought in raising it, thy power will prove. Raising it, thy power will. In raising it, thy power. In raising it, thy power will thy power will thy power it thy power it thy power. Thus spake the gods among thy power. Raising it, thy power will prove it not. What their fiery industries have so divinely wrought in raising it, thy power will prove it not. Thus spake the gods amongst themselves. Set was the fervent sun, and now the great work of the Greeks was absolutely done. Of the Greeks was absolutely done. Was absolutely done. Absolutely done. And now the great work of the Greeks was absolutely done. And now the great work of the Greeks was absolutely done. Set was the fervent sun, and now the great work of the Greeks was absolutely done. Then slew they oxen in their tents, and strength with food revived. When out of Lemnos a great fleet of odorous wine arrived, sent by Euneus, Jason's son, born of Hypsipyle. The fleet born of Hypsipyle. The fleet contained 1,000 ton, which must transported be to Atreus' sons, as he gave charge, whose merchandise it was. The Greeks brought merchandise it was. Merchandise it was. The Greeks bought wine for shining it was. The Greek whose merchandise it was. The Greeks bought wine for shining steel, and some for sounding brass, some for ox hides, for oxen some, and some for prisoners. A sumptuous banquet was prepared, and all that night the peers and fair-haired, all that night the and all that night the peers and fair-haired Greeks consumed in feast. So Trojans and their aid, and all the night Jove thundered loud. O Trojans and their aid, and their aid, and all the night Jove thundered loud. Pale fear and all the night Jove thundered loud, and all Trojans and their aid, and all the night Jove thundered loud. Pale fear all thoughts dismayed. And all the night Jove thundered loud. This banquet was consumed in feast. So Trojans and their aid, and all their aid, and their aid, and all the night Jove thundered loud. Pale fear, while they were gluttonous, thundered loud. Pale fear all thoughts dismayed. While they were gluttonous in earth, Jove wrought their banes in heaven. They poured full cups on the ground. They poured full banes in heaven. They poured full cups upon the ground, and were to offerings driven instead, and were to offerings driven, and were to offering on the ground, and were to offerings driven instead of quaffings, and to drink none durst attempt, and to drink none durst in solemn sacrifice, drink none quaffings, and to drink none durst attempt, before in solemn sacrifice they did Almighty Jove adore. In solemn sacrifice they did Almighty Jove adore. Then to their rest adore. Then to their rests they all repaired, bold zeal, all repaired, bold repaired. Rests they all repaired, bold zeal their fear bereaved. Bold zeal their fear bereaved, and sudden sleep's refreshing gift, and sudden sleep's refreshing gift. Bold zeal their fear bereaved, bold zeal their fear. Then to their rests they all repaired, then to adore. Then to their rests they all repaired, bold zeal their fear bereaved, and sudden sleep's refreshing gift securely they received. And sudden sleep's refreshing gift securely they received. Refreshing gift securely they received. They received. They did Almighty Jove adore. Then to their rests they all repaired, bold zeal their fear bereaved, and sudden sleep's refreshing gift securely they received. And of long rest conferring near their keels, the adverse charge to meet. Right shoulder strook. In 10 full springs he shore, and time white bounding in delicious springs, and nurse of beasts with the earth itself, and seas ye enforced. And sudden sleep's refreshing Book 8. Data, gods a council have. Troy conquest, Hector's glorious. Book 8. Book 8. Hector's glorious.